Last episode, we talked about disrupting industries. And this episode, we're going to be talking about how to build an amazing team to help you achieve your moonshot. Many of the entrepreneurs, we believe we are good at everything, right? We can do almost anything we want. But the truth is, most of us are good at few things, and rest of the things we can do, but not really as well as someone who's really, really good at them, right? So we may be really good at a strategy, maybe really good at identifying the right group of people. But at the end of the day, you may need, if you are a good strategy person, you may need someone who is a good operational person. You need to always know what are the complementary skills you need to be able to achieve your moonshot successfully. As you're assembling your team, always remember, when you're looking for a friend, you want someone who is exactly like you, that you can hang out together, you can discuss the same things together. But when you're assembling your team to achieve your moonshot, you want people who are very unlike you. That means people who may not laugh at your jokes, people who don't even understand your vision. But those are the people who say, look, I hope you know where you're going because I am right behind you building everything that you need. And that means your job at that point becomes to really be looking at the forest, looking exactly where the road is headed, and believing in your team that they're going to be behind you, building the roads, building the infrastructure, building the platform that you need, so that as you are scaling your business, there is somebody behind you filling up the foundation and building the foundation for you. And this is really a critical part, because somehow you believe that you are the only one who can actually do everything. And if you're not doing it, it's not going to get done as well. And this is where I believe most entrepreneurs fail. They become this Rambo. They think they are the one-man team. They can go out and do everything, and everyone is just not as good as them, and they don't really allow the team to succeed. And I think once you start to believe that just like a sport, it's a team sport. Being a successful moonshot thinker is a team sport. Everybody on the team has a role to play. You have a role to play. You are just a part of the team. You're no longer someone that you believe the team reports to and you somehow are telling them what to do. You have to believe you are just another cog in the wheel, and you have a purpose, and everyone on the team has a purpose. And when you can build a team that actually believes in each other, and more than just believing in each other, they actually respect each other for what each person is doing. That's when you have an amazing team that can achieve the moonshot. So how do you hire the right people to help you achieve your moonshot? And these people are not going to come and join you because you pay them the most. In fact, if people are joining you because this is the best job they can have, you're probably hiring the wrong people. You want people to join you because they believe in your cause, they believe in your mission, and they believe in your moonshot, and they're willing to join you despite this being the least paying job. In fact, the best and the brightest will come to you if they believe in your mission at 50%, 70%, or 90% lower salary. Because these are the people who believe they want to be part of something big. They want to leave a legacy behind themselves. Because most of the people who are really good at what they do, they have already achieved success. And what they're really now looking for is to achieve significance. Something they can go back and when they're on the deathbed and say, look, I've lived a good life. And here's what I did. Where their grandkids are proud of what their grandpa has achieved. And when you get to somehow, most of us who are really good at something, we're all starving for the significance that we need, right? So I think if you can give people a purpose, a cause, and a mission that they can believe in, you can assemble some of the best and the brightest from the industries and complement you. When you are trying to achieve your moonshot, just remember, it's all about connecting the non-obvious dots. Because obvious dots can be connected by anyone else. You as a moonshot thinker are looking at this world so differently than anyone else has ever looked at, that you are able to find the connection between the things that was not obvious to anyone. And that's how the disruption happens. And it's interesting thing, just want to bring it up here, is that as you're assembling your team, You're going to have these experts in their field, and they're going to constantly tell you that why the way you're doing it will never work. They tried that 10 years ago and it did not work. And your job is to constantly keep pushing them that 10 years the world was very different. The technology had changed. The tools that are at your disposal are completely different now. So when experts tell you that it can't be done, or they have been there, done that, and it's not going to work, your job is to keep asking them why it won't work. What if it could work? And I can give you a couple of great examples of that. I remember my first company when I was the novice guy and we were trying to build a company to go to the moon. And everyone, I kept asking, I said, look, I don't know how can someone go to the moon, because every time you look at the moon, it's constantly moving. So how do you land someplace that's constantly moving? Until they start explaining me this, how the orbital mechanics works. When I asked them, what would it take to go to the moon? They said they have to build one massive rocket. And that rocket has to be able to leave the Earth's gravity and land on the moon and actually come back. And that massive rocket has to be, one big tall rocket. And I kept thinking that I come from the software world. You don't write one big monolithic code. You rely on the functions. You rely on these modules that people develop, and each module builds on the top of the other module. So I kept thinking, why can't we really build something, a very small rocket that simply take you to the suborbital, and we can have another rocket that goes from there to the moon, and we can have a third rocket that can actually bring back the stuff that we want from the moon. And the first answer was, that will never work. That's just not possible. And I kept pushing them, why can't it work? And they start to explain, and as they're explaining, the first thing was, you know what? Maybe it might work, but it's going to be very, very difficult. And I said, tell me, what is the difficulty in this? And the more you push them, then they say, oh my God, that's such a brilliant idea. It actually may just work. And that to me was really the crux of the thing, is that you as a non-expert are constantly pushing the boundaries of what experts think are not possible. So I'm not suggesting that when you're building a moonshot that everyone in your company needs to be a complete non-expert, but you as a leader need to have that novice thinking. You have to be the one that actually is not the expert in the field that you're disrupting, but you still have to hire the expert in those fields, and your job is to keep pushing them beyond their comfort level, keep asking them, why can't it work? What if it actually did work? And that's how you create disruption, and that's how you achieve your moonshot that most people in the industry will believe is completely impossible. As I mentioned, when you're hiring these amazing people, they're obviously willing to join you for a pay cut. But at the same time, remember, they all want to share in the upside. They all want to be part of the cause they're creating. Remember, if you're going to help 1 billion people, you're going to, of course, create a massive, amazing industry that could be worth 10 billion, 50 billion, or $100 billion. And the only way to keep these smart people aligned with your vision is to have them be part of that upside. Make sure that every single person who works for you has equity in the company. That means anyone, it doesn't matter whether they're a receptionist or they are the executive. Every single person you want in the company to be cheering for your success, because your success means their success. And it's no longer about your success or their success. It becomes about our success. And if you can create a company, create a team where everyone believes it is their company, it is their cause, it is their mission, it is their moonshot, you have an amazing team that's all rowing in the same direction, and everyone really focused on helping you achieve their moonshot, which also happens to be your moonshot. When you're hiring a team, there are a couple of things you have to watch out for. You're not looking for simply the followers. You're looking for people who are self-motivated. You're looking for people who are going to challenge you. People who are going to tell you that you are wrong. And you need to keep an open mind, not just to believe that you're always right. Anytime you tell someone that you want them to do something, always give them the reason why you believe that's the right thing to do. And allow people to challenge your logic. Allow people to challenge that your thinking may be wrong. At the end of the day, when you allow people to challenge, it doesn't mean you're going to be convinced, but there are times you're going to actually learn something new, and you're going to say, you know what? I actually was wrong, and I think the approach that we need to do is something totally different. That means by allowing people to challenge you, the reasoning of why you're doing it is the reason why the solution tends to always get better and better. And there are times you may completely disagree with them, but you always hear every single one of them, what they are saying, understand their reason. I remember in the early days, we will have the executive team come together, and then everyone will say, well, we should not be doing this, we should be doing this. And my job is to listen to everyone. At the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, I would say, you know what? I hear you, I understand you want us to do this, and here's why you believe we should do this, and here's why I disagree, and unless you can tell me that why my reasoning is wrong, we're going to go out and go in a different direction. Remember, you as a moonshot thinker is not there to be the most popular person. You're not there to create a consensus. Because anytime you try to create a consensus, it is really essentially the team making the decision. And anytime you try to build a consensus, you're always going to get a mediocre answer. Anytime there is going to be a consensus, you will never be able to push the boundaries of what is possible. Listening to your team is one thing, but always trying to create a consensus is absolutely the wrong approach. To some extent, as a moonshot thinker, you need to be that benevolent dictator. That means you're always autocratic, you listen to everyone, but at the end of the day, the buck stops with you. You have to be convinced what is the right thing to do. You have to stay true to your vision. And sometimes you have to actually tell people that despite everyone disagreeing with that, you're going to continue to push down that path. Because sometimes that's what it takes when the world is telling you that you're wrong. Sometimes you have to have that internal conviction to believe that you are actually on the right path. Every company that is today a disruptive company has always gone through a near-death experience. And in that near-death experience, it takes a successful entrepreneur to be able to look back and listen to their voice, inside their voice. Are they on the wrong path? Is it time to pivot? Or are they still in the right path, but the timing is just maybe slightly too early, and they hunker down and continue to persevere and actually win. I can tell you in examples after examples, not only me as an entrepreneur, but the companies that I worked for in the past, working with Bill Gates. Remember the Windows 1.0 was a complete disaster, and people thought that will never work. The Windows 2.0 was a complete disaster, but Bill persevered. And when Windows 3.0 came out, and that was a complete success. And it took that long. Let's focus on another thing that I really find that's most important as an entrepreneur, as a moonshot thinker. That when you're hiring a person, don't hire the person just because of their skill. One of the most important things you will find in the early days is a culture fit. And what I mean by the culture fit is, do they actually belong in the tribe? Can all of us work together as one group? That means we can disagree with each other, but we never disrespect each other. And the culture fit becomes the most important. In fact, many of the companies fail because the company has a culture that actually constantly infighting. It becomes what I would say, a political game of survival, a Game of Thrones inside the company. And when you have a Game of Thrones inside the company, everyone is afraid and no one is putting out their best. And to me, the culture fit is one of the most important things we do as a moonshot thinker, is that every person on your team may think completely differently. You may even disagree with them, but you have to respect their opinion. And then when everybody is heard, you as a moonshot entrepreneur still have to make a decision on the direction you go. And that means everyone on the team has to believe in you as a leader, that they may in fact disagree with your decision, but once the decision is made, it becomes everyone's decision. It becomes a team's decision, and there is no longer about, I told you so. It is everyone moves in one direction, everybody rows in the same direction, and everybody is going towards making that moonshot happen. And there's somewhere along the lines, if we all learn the decision we made was wrong, we pivot and we move along and we adapt. And that means as an entrepreneur, You never fail. You simply adapt and pivot, and you fail when you give up. So hopefully every one of you on this journey with me is never going to give up. Is going to simply adapt and pivot, and every idea that does not work, use that as a stepping stone for a different idea and a bigger idea. What I want to tell you about is that when you have this amazing team and your group that you've assembled, you have to give them a place where they can essentially collaborate offline, not just online, but really the water cooler thing, where people just come together and banter back and forth. In fact, what I find is that some of our best discussions happen in most of these informal places. In my past company, it used to be that every single day we'll go out for a cup of tea in the morning, and just the walk from the office to get to the coffee shop, it allowed me to catch up with people on an informal basis about what are the things they're working on, what are the things that are maybe going wrong, what are the things that actually on top of my mind. And by the time the afternoon came about, it was time to catch up again about what have we done about the things we discussed in the morning. Are there still the issues that we need to deal with, or what issues have been fixed? And really having these informal conversations in the morning tea, in the afternoon tea. And in fact, we were such close friends, we always used to eat lunch together. We used to go out for lunch at times, and then one day I decided that it was such an unhealthy practice for us to be going out every day. I decided I'm going to start to bring my own lunch. And guess what? Everyone started to bring their own lunch, or at least pick up the lunch from downstairs and come back, but we always had the lunch together. And having that offline collaboration environment where we could just talk about anything. And some discussions were obviously about the company, and sometimes the discussions went completely tangent. But even the times when the discussions were completely tangent, there were things we could pick up from and say, that's a really interesting thought about this industry, but what if we apply that to what we are doing now? And that's really how these discussions that sometimes looks like not on the point actually end up helping the current business that you thought was these discussions are completely irrelevant to. So you have to find what's the culture of your company, and when you're interviewing people, try to put them in that culture in yourself and to see how they react to it. Ask them something totally random and see how they react to it. And sometimes you actually make them uncomfortable to see how they react when you're actually disagreeing for no reason at all, to see how they react to it. So other technique that I use is when I'm hiring a senior executive, I take them out for dinner and really watch how they interact with a waiter or waitress. Because sometimes they may be really polite to you, but the way they react to the wait staff really tells you who they are internally. In fact, you might even try a different technique. You might even tell the waiter to bring them a wrong order and see how they react. Do they get angry, or they just say, that's not what I really ordered, but it doesn't look bad, I'll eat it. Or how they react in a situation that did not go according to their plan, and that tells you a lot about who they are as a person. So anyway, there are a lot of techniques you can use, but the trick is to find the person who's going to be a good culture fit, person who's going to have a good complementary skill to you. And the only reason you will know what is a complementary skill, you have to look inside your own soul and find out what are the things you're really, really good at. And it can't be everything. Only one or two things that you are really, really good at, and you get to focus on that, and everything else you're going to hire the people around you to complement you. Here's your task. You need to now do some soul searching. Write down in your journal what are your absolute talents that you're good at. Write down the 2 things you are absolutely good at, and then you write down the 2 things that you're not good at. And everything else will be just somewhere in between. Now, once you write them down, share with your tribe or share with your friends, and let the friends tell you, no, you're really not good at that, right? So that means try to actually see the feedback of other people who know you really well to be able to help you, guide you to say what you're really good at and the things you're really not good at. And sometimes you may be good at something, but you really don't enjoy doing it. And that's also something you need to know, that you really don't enjoy doing that. Then you essentially hire someone that even you might be good at it, but you want someone else to do that because you don't enjoy doing. Just remember, when you're building your moonshot, it is a life commitment. So if you're not enjoying it, you'll never be able to successfully achieve it. Remember that this means you need to be the leader of your own moonshot. And tomorrow we will be discussing how do you become a great leader. So in the meantime, dream big and shoot for the moon.